for the YouTube stream preview to come up, and it still took like 30 seconds after the refresh. Cool. That's always a good omen when YouTube doesn't want to cooperate before you've even started.
Yeah, that's just good omens, right?
Yeah.
It's time to sacrifice a beer to the beer gods.
That's right. Well, I'm not going to pour it out.
Well, you could pour out like a Hams or a... Well, I'm sure Rhett still has some Rainier sitting around there you could probably pour out.
I'm sure. Rhett, if you're listening, pour one out for us, because we need a sacrifice to the stream gods.
Yeah.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 346, your once-week live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify. You say the same thing for like 4 years and it just kind of sticks. Over on Spotify, which purchased Anchor.fm, which is, I guess it'll still get you to the same place, or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are run in the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel, but an even better way to help support the channel is head on over to craftcomputing.store, pick up some of our fantastic glassware. We've got nucleated laser-etched pint glasses, we've got coasters, bottle openers, whiskey stones, everything you need to start drinking like a pro. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat or the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. And as a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there.
Oh, yes. It's always active. Always something going on. Always talking.
It's gonna be a good show tonight.
It is.
Lots to get to. We've got AMD Zen 5 launch. We've got the reviews coming out for the 9600X, 9700X, the new 6 and 8 core processors from AMD, and the results are decidedly meh. We've got a little bit of insight into how widespread the Intel Raptor Lake saga may be. What is the actual failure rate of this? And the answer might shock you.
Oh, clickbait.
God, it felt bad doing that, okay?
At least you didn't have it on the title.
At least I didn't have it on the title.
Yeah.
God, I feel so dirty for that segue. Microsoft is getting wordsy with Delta and calling them out on their crap. OpenAI is coming out with watermarks to help people detect cheaters, which it's already open source. I mean, the cat's out of the bag on text generation, but hey, if you use ChatGPT, you're going to look like an even bigger idiot now. And some potential Half-Life 3? And this one isn't just like, you smell that? I smell Half-Life. No, there's like a little bit of smoke. Like, yeah, there's potential.
There's some meat on that bone, just a little bit.
And Daryl chimes in with $2 and says, this super chat will demonetize you. Joke's on you. I actually don't monetize Talking Heads because VODs perform poorly if they're monetized and you don't get a ton of viewership afterwards. My shows are 2 hours long. They do fairly well. I get, 5,000-6,000 views per show on the VOD, but that actually kills my analytics, so I don't monetize it, so it doesn't hurt my main channel videos. I rely on other forms of monetization, like super chats and Patreon joins and things like that to keep this show going. Plus, this is literally just an excuse for me to sit down and have a beer with a couple friends. So that's what it is. Novella's reading the video description. El Polo, what's your handle on Christian Mingle? So for those who don't know, the long-running gag on this channel is Steve doesn't have a lot of presence on social media, and so I make one up for him every week, and this week is follow Steve on Christian Mingle.
I said it was the French tickler.
Yeah. We've done everything from ICQ to in Soviet Russia, Steve follows you.
Dude. I actually, I had way back in the day, I had a... Oh, what was the coveted 6-digit ICQ number?
Did you?
Oh yeah, way before. Well, I don't think is ICQ still a thing? I don't think it is.
It's not. What was really, really funny is I actually did the ICQ one like last month or maybe the month before. The very next week I did a show with Rhett of ICQ shutting down.
Oh,
like they finally shut down.
Oh,
but the week before, the joke in the description was follow Steve at ICQ, number 42069. It's like, oh my gosh, the timing was almost perfect. Yeah.
I mean, people could try to friend me on Steam if they want. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's literally his name on Steam. So
yeah, it is.
That's the social media you'll find him on.
Basically.
Yep.
I do get some random scammers trying to friend me on there.
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
It's like, hey, you want to trade skins with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, dude.
I don't even care what my own character looks like.
Yeah, I
know. What do you say we get the show started? Started.
Getting thirsty.
The stow sharded.
Sharded.
That's what it tried to be.
Yeah.
And let's get some beers open. Steve, what are you drinking tonight?
All right. So this week I have two lovely IPAs. The first we've had the three-way IPA, this year's three-way IPA before, but this is the second release. This is the hazy version of the three-way IPA. It is it's got the same artwork. And of course, I got the green screen on.
There's some holes in your can.
Yeah, some holes in my can. It's not leaking through. Magic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had it before. It's actually quite good. I like it better than the first release.
Nice. I'm jealous because I haven't had the hazy yet. I had the original release, which was actually quite good.
It was quite good. Yeah. But I like this one better. Yeah. So if you like that one, you're gonna like this one.
Nice.
And then I have still relying on my El Segundo stash. I have Lost in the Mail, which is their
You're going for
IPA.
It tonight.
I am going for it. 13.2% IPA.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna do this one towards the end of the show.
That's a good idea.
So I'm gonna start out with the three-way.
All right. Boy, mine feels rather pedestrian after that. I'm going with the Treehouse Brewing. Curiosity 141.
Oh.
With like this neon horse looking thing. I love the can art. Treehouse never disappoints for can art. A New Zealand style IPA featuring, hold on, single hopped with Nelson Sauvin and Upper Moteur and Tapawera hops. So
sounds like it's going to taste like hobbits.
2 out of 3 hops that I've never heard of before. Are hops grown by hobbits?
Yeah.
Hobbits?
Especially if they're from New Zealand. Hobbits.
Yeah. Hobbits, yeah.
Hobbits. They have green fuzzy toes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, a New Zealand style IPA, clocking in at 7%. And then from longtime supporter of the channel, Malbeth, I have a beer that I have no idea. He gave me a cheat sheet at one point. I'm gonna have to look this one up. But a Dio de Chile, something like that. It's an imperial stout. It's an imperial coffee stout. That's all I know. 9.5%. So
that sounds good.
We'll finish up with that one, and I'll look up the cheat sheet once we get there. Steve, do you see any beer shout outs that we can do?
Yes. Let's see. We got Coffee and Cynicism. He's enjoying a Hop and Frog Repeat 3X American Imperial Brown. Oh, weren't we just talking about Imperial? No, we were talking, Imperial Browns, yeah. 15.6% ABV.
I would say Hop and Frog, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, Hop and Frog is great, too. He says the untapped score is only 3.9, which is kind of weird. I would think it'd be higher, but
yeah.
We also have Michael S. With New Realm Psychedelic Rabbit, Transcendent IPA, 6.5%. We have More Brewing, Double Space Boots, which is a double dry hop double IPA with Citra and Galaxy hop, 8%. That one's a whopping 4.2 on Untapped. I like how everybody's putting the scores in the chat, so I don't have to go look them up.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have trained our community well.
I know, because I was like, oh, that sounds great. What is it? What is that on Untapped? Yeah, I think those are the early beer shoutouts we got.
Did you get Magic Rat, Fiddlehead's Second Fiddle, Hazy
I don't think I did. I don't
8.
think I did.
8.4%. Harley's got a More Brewing, Double Space Boots, Double Dry Hopped. Yeah, you read that one. That's right. 4.22 on Untapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's a Little Willow Brewing from Novella Hub. Did we do that one?
I didn't see that one. No.
Oh yeah, Willy Goat, Double Dry Hopped, Double IPA, 8%. That's a 4.19.
Willy
That's
Goat.
Good. And then someone's drinking a Stella Artois cider, European style apple cider.
Nice.
Which I don't think I've ever had that. We have lots of great craft cider in the area as well as craft beer.
Yes.
So we don't typically delve into the Stella Artois.
Yeah. Must be Andy in the chat. Andy from Technics.
You think it is? Is it?
No.
No. Okay. I was gonna say.
He'd show up as his own profile, but I always give Andy crap because when I met Andy, he drank nothing but Stella Artois, and then I actually convinced him to start trying craft beer, and then he got really heavy into craft beer a couple years ago.
Yeah, so. That's when we brought him. We brought him a bunch of our IPAs to CES. So Black Cherry White Claw. I see a lot of people. That was what was it? There was an article. I think we even covered it. Was it last year? I think, where they were looking at the #1 barbecue beers that people drank while they were barbecuing, and most of the country was like, Miller, Coors, Bud, whatever, except for Oregon. Oregon was White Claw. White Claw is the #1 barbecue drink of choice. Malt beverage drink of choice while barbecuing.
I can't say I'm surprised by that. Oregon has always had a soft spot for the wine coolers, the Mike's Hard Lemonades, for drinks of that ilk. And I'm also not gonna lie. If I go to a barbecue and they've got a bunch of hams and then also a bunch of Mike's Hard Lemonade, I will enjoy the crap out of a Mike's
Hard Lemonade. Yeah, if it's a choice between Bud Light or Coors Light or something like that, I'll go for the White Claw over those.
Oh yeah,
but
depends on the flavor. The lime and the black cherry White Claws are pretty decent. I will say, yeah. Those are the two I prefer. The mango is hot garbage, but
I think, oh god, because my friend, that's all he drinks is the mango White Claw. That's his absolute favorite. I don't think I've had that one before. I tend not to drink White Claw.
I've been trying to pour this beer for a while, and it has head that just won't quit.
Oh god,
I keep going back, and I'm just feeding it a little bit more, and it's literally like a root beer float. It just will not go away.
It's got almost like that Dairy Queen loop at the top of it, except it's foam.
It's everything I could do to not get that to work.
Oh my gosh.
Little curly Q on top. Hold on. I was just about to get into the news, but Tan chimes in chat. Off topic, but I was able to get the GPU on the BC250 to work. You're going to need to elaborate on that. Because I'm interested. I don't have mine still, but I know where it's at. I know quite a few people who have the BC250s. Now, when you say you got it to work, what I want is, I don't even care about DirectX. I just want Vulkan. If you got Vulkan to render in Linux, that means we can DXVK it. That means we can do remote gaming machines. That means we can actually use it as intended. Now, after benchmarking that system, I'm still furious at the 105 watt idle power draw.
Ooh.
I just built a 12-bay NAS server with a 14-core processor, and it idles at 110.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I don't find the utility all that fascinating for a 6-core, absolutely nerfed Zen 2 CPU. All that appealing. But you have my attention. I've also heard this claim a couple of times before. So... but I am interested. And Cybic says, LCARs for the win. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for noticing all my hard work that I put into this. Let's see. All right. Let's get into the news. I'd love to get sidetracked about BCG 50. Maybe we'll wrap up there a little later in the show, but sure. There's some news to get to. And let's start with AMD. The Zen 5, much anticipated Zen 5, has officially launched. Down in the description, I went ahead and linked videocards.com. They usually do a fantastic review roundup. So whether you're interested in written media or YouTube or whatever, here's everyone's opinions. And this is one in particular, you're going to want to read everyone's opinions because it seems like everyone has a different opinion on this particular CPU. And I don't know that we've had that in quite a long time. It's one thing for a random reviewer to disagree. It's another thing for a lot of reviewers to kind of cut their own path in what they think of something. So the results overall, I found them to be pretty mixed. Now, full disclosure, I don't have a review sample on hand. Mine is likely going to come probably in another month or so. I just didn't have time to review this right off, and so I'm going to do a project with a Zen processor later on. I didn't have time to do a launch review right now. So I don't have any hands-on experience with it. However, I do know some people who have. I've talked to a couple people about the launch. And there's a lot of things going on here. Obviously, we have the claims from AMD that Zen 5 is yet again a 15% IPC improvement over Zen 4. Some of the biggest news that I've seen coming out of this is actually the power draw of these individual CPUs, where we were seeing 110 watts for a 6-core processor. The 9600X is back down to a 65 watt TDP. It's back down to Zen 2 levels as far as power on the die.
Right.
And in fact, the max power observed has been 88 watts. That's insane. I mean, that's taken us back in time 3, 4, or 5 years to when we could actually cool a CPU with a stock cooler. You didn't have to spend an extra $100 on a tower air cooler to keep something cool. So if you take anything out of any of the reviews, that's probably one of the biggest single solitary improvements, is a 40% drop in power usage for still a pretty modest performance gain, and you don't have to spend extra money to cool it. So you're coming out way ahead as far as a total cost of investment goes. And I think some of that was probably lost in looking at just raw performance data on this.
Because that's what people tend to look at right away. That's like their first initial, point to look at is just raw performance overall. Especially with, the people who like building their own, they're looking at the gaming performance. And, how's that doing? And it seems like in this go around, it's modest, but it's honestly the biggest performance is business applications and AI stuff is where you're seeing the biggest performance boosts. So, and we haven't even seen the gaming chips; they haven't released those yet.
Right.
So we're gonna get even more stats here. And when are the next chips supposed to come out?
Likely 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months. Okay.
We have no official guidance on when X3D CPUs. We know they're probably going to come out, but we have no guidance on when specifically those are going to launch. Right. But Brandon chimes in. Seems like 9000 series is worse than X3D at gaming. Yes, they are. Do you know why X3D is good at gaming? It's because of the 4 times L3 cache. Yep. Which is one aspect of a CPU that is very beneficial to games. And that's just like a universal constant. It also costs a lot of money to integrate that. Also, the X3D chips are slower in in productivity applications, slower in multi-threaded productivity applications, because of their slightly different architecture.
Yeah.
The X3D chips are phenomenal for gaming. And so it's actually no surprise that the 5800 X3D even is still kind of outperforming these chips, or at least breaking even with these chips. And people are going, that's outrageous that CPUs from 2 generations ago are still perform. No, that's what those CPUs were designed to. And guess what? When the X3D variants of the 9000 series comes out, that's going to be a distant memory. These are 2 different chips. They're 2 different designs.
Yeah.
They're a similar Zen architecture, but fundamentally different in the pipelines that they utilize to generate frames for games.
Yeah. And these particular chips, I think we were talking about this before the show. To people like me, people like you, professionals who also like gaming, and you're usually looking for, a one-stop shop for what you're going to use, something that does good on productivity apps and one that does good with gaming. Are you going to get the best gaming one? No. But I mean, let's be honest, the video card you pop in there is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting for you anyway.
Yep.
So for professionals who also want to code or do any kind of video development, graphics development type stuff, this is going to be very, very attractive, because there is a pretty decent boost for those type of apps, and it's also got that lower power consumption too.
Yeah. So before we dive into like some specifics, I'm going to say read/watch a lot of different opinions, because there's going to be a lot of different aspects of these CPUs that aren't really covered. One of my favorites that I looked at was Club 386. They did a fantastic review, very, very thorough on benchmarking, giving both productivity, synthetic, and gaming results, and kind of equating what these exact CPUs are made for and who they're made for. But right here at the top, you can see the power differences between all of these chips. 120 watts for the 7800X3D, versus the 9600X is 65 watt, 9700X is 65 watt.
65 watt, yeah.
Both of these chips were topping out at about 88 watts a piece, whereas everything else is 105, 120, and then you get to Intel at 181 and 253 respectively for their turbo clocks.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. But scrolling down the list a little bit here, let's start with looking at synthetic tests. So looking at Cinebench performance, or sorry, Cinebench 7-zip performance. So this is a compression test, and higher numbers is bigger. MB per second. And what's really funny is the 7700X still up here on top versus the 9700X. But that's an anomaly, as you'll see as we get further in the charts. But still faster than the 7800X3D. It's only about 2%, but it is faster. Let's scroll down a little further. 9700X sitting here at Y-Cruncher at 130.2 versus the 7800X3D at 144. Scroll down a little further. Geekbench single core, 3391 versus, oh look, all the way here at the bottom, 2786. Multi-core, 17,000 versus 15.1. Versus 15.7. And the synthetics go on like that ad nauseum. Sometimes it's 1 or 2% faster. Sometimes it's 15, 20, 25% faster.
Yeah, you look at the machine learning one, and that's the one that really kind of takes off.
So yeah, like the performance differences are like, here's a 20% differential in Puget Bench's Photoshop, 11,950 versus 10,296. It's a 20% improvement over the 7800X3D. Again, architecturally and fundamentally different in how they're handling single-threaded and multi-threaded tasks. Some specific to gaming, others are more geared towards productivity. The 9700X is a more productivity-geared CPU at this point in time. But we get down here into gaming benchmarks. And the script is flipped a little bit with the 7800X3D still coming out on top. but can you really call this on top? And this is kind of the overriding point that I had, or that came to my mind, is we're calling this on top. And between the 6 CPUs that are in this lineup right here, it's a difference of 2%.
Yeah,
234 versus 228. It's 6 FPS difference at 230 frames per second. 6 FPS. Sorry, 11 between the lows, but 6 FPS on average. Really? You're supposed to get all hot and bothered and raise your pitchforks because you have a graphics bottleneck? These CPUs are not within 2% of each other. As far as
this is just Assassin's Creed games. Those have never been like the greatest.
Here's Valhalla, 2 FPS differential. 4 FPS if you include the 7600X, which came in at only 188 frames per second. Mountain Blade, 396 versus 389. 396 versus 389. 7 FPS at nearly 400 frames per second. That's the differential that we're talking about. Cyberpunk, let's go HD. Here's some actual differences. 150 versus 136 for the two top chips, 7800X 3D and the 9700X. Okay. Is that really a perceivable difference, though? Is it really perceivable? Even 117 versus 103 on the 1% low. Is that even a perceivable difference? You're talking about sub-millisecond differences in hundreds of frames whizzing by per second.
Yeah.
We go to 1440p and the difference is 4 FPS on top. In 4K, obviously, we're GPU completely bottlenecked there with literally 1 frame per second difference across any CPU that you buy at 4K. But
yeah.
Is this really the difference that you care about? All of these games are GPU bottlenecked. Every single one at full HD, even at full HD. Mm-hmm. We're back to the point that if you're running a 4090, which
this is what they're testing it on. Yeah,
I believe
they were testing on a 4090. Yeah.
Right. If you're running a 4090, it's bottlenecked. It's going to be bottlenecked. Period. Buy your graphics card, regardless of resolution. And so, yes, depending on the CPU, there's a 1 or 2% difference, but that defines a bottleneck. That defines a hard cap in which you cannot cross with any CPU that you use. So, while, yeah, the 7800X 3D is still the champion as far as gaming, it's the champion by, like, 3% at 150 and higher frames per second. Mm-hmm. And some people are up in arms about that, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think we've always argued this in the past. It's like, you got to look at use cases for this. And we kind of touched on it before. But yeah, if you're going for a gaming PC that's going to be strictly for gaming, then yeah, go for the 7800X 3D. Come on. But if you're looking for, work gaming balance, mm-hmm. something that you want to, work and perform well on, and something that you also want to game on, yeah, of course, then go for this.
Yeah.
And that's what the benchmarks show.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to have a good time regardless.
Yeah. And I think that's what it's down to is, look, we're all gamers and we all want the best performance. And this actually ties in a little bit to something I've talked about the last couple of weeks here on the show is every reviewer inherently has bias. Every single reviewer has bias. They all have objectives that they're trying to measure. Whether that's absolute performance, whether that's best mm-hmm. value, whether that's power draw, regardless of what the reviewer sets out as their expectation for a pass, fail, or a good mm-hmm. grade, bad grade, every reviewer has bias. Some people may interpret this and go, well, yeah, but I'm a competitive gamer and I need the absolute maximum frames per second and the most consistency. Cool, then the 7800X 3D is absolutely for you.
That's what you want.
But guess what? That was a CPU from the last generation that was purpose-built for your use case. Of course, it's going to be better than a more generic version that is faster in productivity tasks at gaming. Of course that's going to be the case. This product isn't for you. That doesn't make this product a bad product. It doesn't mean it's a flop. It doesn't mean it doesn't deserve shelf on the space, or, you know, space on the shelf at Micro Center. It just means this isn't a product for you. Me doing video editing as a primary use case for one of my most powerful machines, productivity performance is of the utmost importance. Steve, you being a developer, productivity performance is of the utmost importance.
Is very important to me. Yeah, especially because I do a lot of database work. The database numbers on this was quite good. I mean, like and we were also talking about this too, because people don't usually buy the previous generation, look at the next generation, but I got to upgrade right away. Usually they go 2 or 3 generations down. That's where I'm at. I have the Zen 2 3700X. So this is like right up my alley. Right. This would be a perfect upgrade for me. Right. To be honest, it looks very attractive to me.
Yeah, you moving from a 3700X to a 5800X wasn't really a great deal. I mean, yes, there was like a 15% improvement across the board. Yes, we eventually got the 5800X 3D, but that came almost a year later in Zen 3's lifespan. You know, if you were really hurting for performance on your 3700X, Zen 4 would have been a great upgrade, something like a 7800 or a 7800X 3D if you were more gaming focused. But, you know, here you are sitting, you know, 4.5 years later from your Zen 2 Zen 2 purchase. Yep. You're going, you know what, I could upgrade. You know what the difference is between a 3700X and a 9700X? It's like double.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like, that's why I'm saying it's more attractive. Right. And with the lower power draw, that's even more attractive. That's bonus on top of it.
So, I mean, speaking of power draw, here's some of their, and again, this is one source, but I've seen this repeated in multiple tests. I've looked at Linus's, I've looked at a couple other videos as well. This is pretty consistent as far as what we're seeing. You know, astronomical power usage, 366 peak watts from a 14700K base system, 238 watts from a 7700X, 212 from a 7600X. Guess what? 190 watts dead heat between 9700X and 9600X, because the CPUs are supposed to peak at about 88 watts, and that's what they do. Interestingly enough, the 7800X 3D is still slightly more power efficient, although, again, for productivity tasks, it's not quite as good. It's not quite as fast. It lost by 15, sometimes 20% to the newer generation Zen 5 chips. But that lower power also means lower temperatures. So using the same heatsink, or, you know, as best you could, obviously the Intel's going to run at 90 degrees because nothing is able to cool that down. You know, Zen 4 sitting here comfortably at 84 degrees, 61 and 58, 59 degrees for these new CPUs.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's so much less heat being thrown into your office space. That's so much more that's so much lower fan speed. That's so much more efficiency. For someone like me who values very, very quiet towers. Yeah. My Threadripper drives me nuts right now because whenever I'm using it, it has to spin up, you know, 32, 48 cores to open Chrome. And so I click Chrome and it goes, and it's like, I know you can do it really quick, but could you just do it with 8 cores? Just do me a favor and only spin up a couple for me. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, every time I use that system, it's just constantly pulsing, no matter where I set my fan curves, because that 250 watts has got to go somewhere. Yeah. But it's so interesting that the reviews are so mixed, because a lot of different people came into this, I think, expecting different things. Zen 5, according to AMD, is supposed to be a new ground-up architecture. It's using TSMC's all-new 4nm, you know, cutting-edge fab tech, and it was supposed to improve in every single way. And I think it did. Did it improve by the margins that people set for their goalposts, for their expectations, though? I think for power draw, it absolutely did. If power draw was an expectation, 40% lower power draw for both chips. 88 watt max, 65 watt nominal. Knocked it out of the frickin' park. And people are going, well, it's power limited now. Yeah, you know what we used to call that? Good overclocking headroom.
Yeah,
Those
that's
who
right.
want to
Have more
run it
room.
on 110, 120,
Yeah.
130 watts, you're more than welcome to do it. Your efficiency curve is going to nosedive, but you'll be able to do that. And I'm really curious to see some reviewers come out and start overclocking these chips and seeing what they can do with PBO and various other technologies. But out of the box performance, 40% less power for 10, 15% increased productivity and 2, 3, 4, 5% better gaming.
Oh yeah,
take it.
Well, that's the thing too, because I think it's the same form factor. They can use their old big fans. They don't have to use the stock fans. You're right. They got all that headroom to overclock. Mm-hmm. They still have their old fans they can put onto it because it hasn't changed. The form factor hasn't changed. So yeah, you can put your big old giant icicle cooler on a thing and it'll still work. And you can overclock if you want to. Yeah, you'll lose that power efficiency, like you said, but you can get that extra bump if you like messing around with that.
Right. Yeah. Those who came in expecting this to eliminate the CPU bottleneck of a 4090 haven't been paying attention to the GPU market all that much, in my opinion, because the GPU market is out of control thanks to AI. I mean, the R&D going into GPU development is off the charts right now. Yeah. And there's not a CPU that can hang. We're back down to 1080p being a great equalizer in a lot of games at ultra settings because the graphics cards are just that much faster than CPU and software can handle right now. They're just that much faster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's one of the widest gaps in Forza Motorsports at 1080p, 143 FPS versus 132.
Yeah.
And that's your margin.
That's the biggest. That's not a big gap at all.
It's 9 frames per second.
I know, it's not big.
That's your widest gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gotten to the point that it's just absurd how fast graphics cards are. Mm-hmm. Which means the CPU that you choose for gaming, $230 on a 9600X, and you can drop a 4090 to it and get the same performance as someone who drops $600 on a, whatever the 16 core is, 95 or 9950 or whatever that chip ends up being called, X3D chip or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. But that's where we're at for CPUs when it comes to gaming right now. So if you're interested in a CPU upgrade, look at all the reviews. Look at every review. Look at it. There's no such thing as too much information, in my opinion. Really interesting CPU launch because I haven't seen so many splits in this is great, AMD absolutely delivered, and it's a fantastic chip. You'd be stupid not to buy one, and other people going, it's an absolute flop, what a sham show, AMD is drinking their own Kool-Aid, and good God, you'd have to be an idiot to buy this. I still recommend Intel, even though they're short-circuiting. There has been all sides of the coin, and it's really, really interesting to me as someone who is in this space.
Yeah. Everyone's a clickbaiter.
Yep. Gabe says for $2. Thank you very much, Gabe. 9700X, 9600X chart top on 4K Ultra Gaming by 16%. Where are you seeing that? Because I'm not seeing that on anyone's charts. Especially at 4K.
Yeah, the 4K one's like almost a draw in every single case.
Yeah. How can you tell it's a draw? Even the synthetics are GPU limited. Do you understand how crazy that has to be? Here's 3D Mark Speedway. 10,320 versus 10,163. That's the split between 7 CPUs. The split is 0.5%. Yeah, I'm just not seeing that wide of a gap, even in single benchmarks, let alone on average.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intel fanboys are a loyal bunch. Patrick says.
They are. They still got their dancing clean suit guys. hanging up in their walls.
Gabe says that's because Windows kernel can't handle it. Oh, you're a Linux gamer. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe you should find a Linux benchmark on it.
This has nothing to do with Linux versus Windows. Because if you're Linux versus Windows, you're also DXVKing it or OpenGL.
Right,
you're running a different process for it.
All the things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an apples to apples benchmark.
No, it wouldn't be. Not to Windows.
Yeah. And look, I'm all about Linux gaming. I love Linux gaming, but it's a different beast entirely. And if you're changing your platform, you're changing the variable. So
yeah, you couldn't compare it to Windows.
Right.
You could compare the processors, generational processors on Linux.
Right. If you want to do a Linux versus Linux benchmark, that's fine. If you want to do a Windows versus Windows benchmark generationally, that's fine. But the thing is, you're adding too much of a variable to cross the platform divide between Windows and Linux.
Well, at that point, you're not looking at the processor. You're not looking at upgrading your processor. You're looking at switching operating systems.
Well, even if you were looking at an upgrade, some things are going to perform differently in Linux than they are in Windows, and that's just inherently because of differences in the OS. But you can't say, well, Cyberpunk performs 38% better in Linux because the Linux kernel is that much more refined than the Windows kernel.
Yeah. What I meant to say was
it's not the same benchmark.
Somebody who was thinking about upgrading or changing, it's not upgrading, I should say switching from Windows to Linux. They're like, well, what are the benefits? What are the benchmarks? These are the games I like to play. Let me look at the difference between Windows and Linux.
Yeah.
It'd be useful for that, but that use case would be only switching operating systems, not upgrading.
Yeah. And I hope you don't play online because you can't run any cheat detection.
Any cheat stuff, yeah.
So how is your Hazy?
It is wonderful. I again highly recommend the Hazy 3-Way. I think in fact I didn't look to see when I first.
If we weren't talking about beer, that is such a dirty sentence you just uttered.
3-Way. The Hazy 3-Way?
Hazy 3. I highly recommend the Hazy 3-Way. If you're all considering it.
Hazy 3-Way. Let's see, 3-Way IPA 2024 Hazy is now sitting at 4.25. So that's
pretty solid for a 7.5% Hazy.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. No, it's definitely better than I mean, like I said, I did not complain about the previous release, the West Coast one. And I've kind of gotten to the point because I remember before Hazy's came out, I loved like the West Coast IPA because that was really the only style of IPA. Now they had some like lower IBU IPAs too, but the Northwest was really known for their super hoppy West Coast clear IPAs, and they had a real distinct flavor. Like really good ones had this really distinct piney, crisp, sweet flavor that I really liked. I don't think anybody makes anymore. Nobody really makes it anymore. At least not for new ones. You can still go back to the classics like Boneyard and stuff like that who make that. But the last 3-Way IPA, which is a West Coast IPA, it was good, but it didn't taste like that. It didn't taste like how I remember the heyday of the West Coast IPA being.
Right. This year's IPA, it was interesting. It was super interesting. I really enjoyed this year's. It was fruity and flowery, but also dry, cider-like, wine-like, like little Pinot Gris.
Right. Fruity and flowery. It had a different. It wasn't bad, but it had a very different. But I wouldn't categorize it as West Coast because, in my mind, because I remember the heyday of the West Coast IPA. It was piney, it was resiny, it was slightly sweet. It was, in some cases, almost tasted like armpit sweat, kind of a little bit. I mean, I hate to say that.
Skunk,
little skunkiness in there. Yeah. It was good. But they don't make those anymore. They really
Yep.
don't. They do in some places, but it's very hard to find now.
Yep.
Because I remember when John had his tap room, he had tons of beers up on his tap room like that, tons of them. And now I can hardly find them anymore.
Yep.
It's either hazy or, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like hazies too. They're good.
Yeah.
But I miss the other style too.
Totally. All right. From AMD news over to Intel news. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get this pic real quick.
What do you got?
I've got a pupper who's asleep on my foot.
Oh, I see.
So I'm going to share that with the Discord.
Don't disturb the pupper.
That's right. Like, I kind of need to move my foot, but at the same time, I'm not going to dare move my foot. So, I'm going to share this with the Discord. There we go. This has been my life for, like, the last 5 weeks. Especially, like, the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks. This is Stormy. Stormy loves me.
Yes.
And she's been coming down to my office and hanging out with me during the week, which is kind of cool. But, yeah, I have been chosen.
The pic from, because it's an above view, and the dog's, for the people who can't see, he's kind of curled at just feet, but from the above, it looks like a fuzzy jelly bean.
Yeah, it really does. She's curled up with her head resting on my foot, just like this.
Yeah.
We want to see the puppers. I'm not going to disturb her. I'm not going to pick her up. But you can get on the Discord. I posted the pic on the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is where we need the top-down camera.
Yeah.
Good God.
The puppers cam.
God, you people. Hold on. Hold on.
Are you gonna get a handheld?
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
There we go. There's the puppers. She's asleep on my foot. There's Stormy, asleep on my foot. Are you happy now? Have I paid the puppy tax?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
You should have waited for a super chat. Then you could have like, all right.
Right. I really should have monetized that to its fullest extent.
The puppers has got to pay its way.
Yeah. Yeah. She's going to be a big dog. For those who don't know, so if you didn't see the last video, I introduced the girls. We have Stormy, which is this one, and then we have Shadow. Mm-hmm. They are, when we got them, they were 8-week-old golden doodles. They are second generation golden doodles, and so their father was a poodle and their mother was a golden doodle, which is a golden retriever poodle mix. So they're 3/4 poodle and 1/4 golden, which basically ensures that they won't shed, and they're also going to be very large. But they also have a lot of the personality traits of goldens, which are like super playful, super snuggly, very easy to train. And so you get the smarts of the golden with the fantastic body characteristics and none of the hip issues.
Yeah.
So we got them at 8 weeks old. They were 5 and 6 pounds. So Shadow is the runt of the litter. And then Stormy is a regular-sized golden doodle. They are now 18 and 12 pounds,
Ooh,
I want to say.
Growing fast.
They're growing very fast.
You mix some rocks in that kibble.
This is 5 weeks. They are 13 weeks. They are 13 weeks.
Okay.
They are now... Stormy went from 6 to 18 pounds. She tripled in size in 5 weeks. And like, holy crap. She's going to be 70, 75 pounds when, like, a year from now. So... Someone needs some LTT cable management magnets. Number one, my desk is not magnetic, although the legs are. I have cable hangers up underneath, and so I can dangle cables up underneath. And actually, I will bundle my cables and hang various different types of cables underneath the front side of my desk, because that's where I set up for shots. And so I have one loop that's for HDMI and DisplayPort. I have another that's for power. I have one that's for USB. I've got one that's for Ethernet and fiber. And I've got a couple other miscellaneous cables bundled in there as well. But you're complaining in a production YouTube studio that I have like 2 cables on the ground. Like, blow me, okay? Do you realize how hard it is to keep this place clean?
Yeah, I shouldn't. It's a good thing I didn't show you what my desk looks like right now.
Yeah.
I usually clean it up before a show, but I don't know. I was lazy today. I was kind of busy.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of garbage scattered all over my desk right now. No one's gonna see it anyway. Who cares?
So yeah, join the Patreon so I can tell you to blow me because you organize my cables. Coffee and Cynicism also shared in the Discord a picture of a cable hanger rack. I actually have 2 of those on my other desks that hang all of my cables up off the floor. So yeah, no, I am well aware, and I try to keep cables as neat as possible, but still, you can blow me. I don't think I could be demonetized for that. It's just the George Carlin words, right?
Right. Yeah. That's fine. Blow me is that's a Popeye phrase anyway.
Right. Well, blow me down.
Yeah. See. Exactly.
That's what I meant. Yeah, 7 words to get demonetized. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good callback. Good callback. All right. Moving on to the Intel news of the week, and as Extreme Tech puts it, the current PR nightmare that is embroiling Intel. Holy crap! They could not have asked for a worse couple of weeks. From having to acknowledge that there may or may not be a serious problem with their architecture and their quest for power. And then some of the PR response around that, like, it's been okay, but it hasn't been stellar. Like, they've extended their warranty by 2 years to say if you're affected, but basically they've acknowledged that if you have a CPU that's above 65 watts, you're affected. Like, it just is what it is. Xlix says, if I ever make it onto the after party, I'll introduce myself as the guy who got permission to blow Jeff. No, you didn't get permission. You were told. Okay.
I mean, that's still kind of permission.
Still kind of, it's consent.
Still,
I mean, consent was given.
Yeah, it's consent. Yeah.
Do you want me to put that on a keychain for you? Anyway, so they've extended the warranty on affected CPUs, but that still puts an end date on what could be a very short-lived lifespan for these CPUs. It's just overall not a good look. Well, Puget Systems, beloved Northwest boutique system builder up in Seattle, Washington, or more specifically Puget Sound, they've actually disclosed their failure rates for CPUs. So they build high-end workstations, systems, gaming machines, etc. Very well-respected, very renowned system builder. It's weird to see a company of any size come forward and disclose failure rates. But obviously, if you're a business, you track this kind of stuff. Just like... oh gosh, who's the company that does the hard drive failure rates? Backblaze. Tracks hard drive failure rates and reports those. Now, obviously, they only buy 5 models of hard drive per year, and so if you happen to have one of those 5, you get fantastic numbers. But it's not all that common for companies to disclose failure rates. Well, Puget Systems obviously tracks their failures, and they track it by the hardware that was included to know if they should continue to include certain motherboards or RAM kits or CPUs. They've compiled a list of CPU failure rates by generation. And again, this is re-reported from Extreme Tech. Link in the description if you want to follow along. But here is the graph that they came up with, and the results are actually super interesting and a little counterintuitive.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of funny because it kind of looks like the graph is flipping you off.
Mm-hmm. It's an AI graph with 7 fingers, but yeah, you're totally right there.
Yeah.
But they've grouped this just by generation. And so we have 5 generations of Intel, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then we have 2 generations of Ryzen 5000, Ryzen 7000, or Zen 2 and Zen 3 and Zen 4. The interesting things are, well, let's back up a little bit. Puget Systems does validation on every system that they sell. They burn systems in before they ship them out. Some of these failure rates are going to include didn't hit advertised boost clock. And so if a CPU comes in and it says, we'll hit 5.6 all core, and it hits 5.3, that's a fail. Just straight out. And sometimes that's just Silicon lottery. But it should be advertised. If it's advertised to hit 5.6, it should hit 5.6. So regardless, it's still a fail, but it's not like an outright failure or, detonation of a processor. I wanted to make that clear. But they broke this down by shop failures, failure to validate, failure to pass all internal testing, and then field failures was returned by customer for failure. And that could include anything from not performing as advertised to straight up DOA to straight up customer wasn't happy. Like, they didn't really disclose if it was a return or if it was, although I'm assuming this is a failure of some kind, a warranty claim of some kind.
Yeah.
Right.
They probably troubleshooted it. Yeah.
Now, we knew 11th gen wasn't fantastic for Intel, but we're seeing 5% of 11th gen, so Rocket Lake, failed to pass validation testing in shop.
That's
5%. That's a big number. And
it's pretty big.
7.5 in total failed outright. Over the lifespan of 11th gen. That's pretty crazy. But we look over here at Raptor Lake. We've got 13th and 14th gen. Obviously, those are the numbers that we're looking at. And honestly, I would like these numbers to be between 1% and 2%. And honestly, for each of these charts, that's kind of what we see. We see about a 1% failure in shop for 13th gen, and about a 1.5%, maybe 1.25% failure out in the field. For just over 2%.
Yep.
Honestly, that's kind of within the noise. That's within like the expected rate for most high-end consumer electronics. Like,
yeah, that's acceptable.
That's acceptable.
Yeah.
Most companies usually shoot for about 98%. Like 98% is your golden, like, we've succeeded. Everything is working gangbusters. Are there a couple things we could shore up? Yes. How many millions of dollars will it cost to offset 0.5% of failures? More than we're going to cost in just sending a customer a new part? Then we're satisfied. And that's the cost of doing business. Do we warranty $1 million in customer sales, or do we spend $17 million avoiding that $1 million in refunds? You're happy with 98%.
Yeah.
Because you'll never hit 100. You'll never even hit 99. And so it's the cost of diminishing returns. That's kind of within the noise. Intel 14th gen, 2%, almost an even 2%, failed to meet validation in shop. And then less than 1% have been field failures. So 2.25, 2 1/3 is kind of what it looks like slightly higher than 13th gen, but by like 3 pixels by my eye.
But we're not really approaching the 1 year mark yet. I mean, we're getting close because it was released like last year around September, October, or something.
Right, and so this number may climb as we go along. But what's amazing is Alder Lake sitting right there at like 1% total failures.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing, right?
Frickin' go Intel! Holy crap! Same with 10th gen. at less than 1%, like 0.5% total failures, especially for as old as 10th gen is.
Yeah.
What's really shocking is you look over here at Zen 4 with a 4% in-shop failure to validate.
That's kind of crazy.
Almost 3% of Zen 3 failure to validate, and both of those are above 4%.
But then you look at the field failures, it's very small for the Ryzen 7000.
Again, to be fair, 7000's only been out for about a year.
Yeah,
It's very similar to 14th gen. And the field failure rate is almost identical. Like, you're looking at very, very similar sizes in field failure rate. You know, 0.25%, maybe 1/3%, depending on who you are. And so that's kind of acceptable. I mean, if you look at our top performers, they have very similar failure rates in field. You're never going to hit 100%. If you get 99%, if you get 99.5, you're golden. That's what those generations hit. Zen 3 sitting over here with a 2.5% failure rate in shop and an additional 2.5% in field. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. Now again, this is one retailer, one outlet, one source of information.
Right.
Just like we say with Backblaze. You know, although I can confirm that Seagate Constellation drives suck. Don't buy them. There's a reason they retired the Constellation name.
One more caveat with Puget Systems in particular. They, with all their Intel systems, they do disable the MCE, the multi-core enhancement. They disable that.
Yes.
So, and I think that it's on by default, isn't it?
Some boards.
Some boards. Depends on the board.
Asus, I know, turns it on by default. They have for a long time. And this has all been, you know, many things over the years of Intel board partners playing it kind of fast and loose with timings and with, you know, per core boosts and things like that. Yeah, no, they turn off all the MCE, all the extra boost to get, you know, let's go 6.2. Yeah. It's like, no, let's be stable.
Yeah.
Let's try not to crash. Right. We all love our speed. We all love to go as fast as possible. What I don't want is to get on a plane heading across the country, which I will be doing very shortly, and to hear, you know what, I think we can beat the record. We'll just risk the crash, right? No?
Nope. I'd like steady and true at this particular place.
Could I just make this a 7-hour flight? Like, could we just cruise?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. I brought
Could we do 55 in the right lane? I'd be totally fine. Green suggesting that maybe it had to do with memory controllers on Ryzen, and that totally could be a thing as well. Ryzen, for as many good things as they've done, have always been a little fickle with memory controllers, some generations more than others. And so, again, when we're dealing with validation testing, like I said, in-shop testing, and I've dealt with this numerous times, especially on Threadripper, getting memory to remain stable at certain frequencies and certain timings that should be validated, receiving validated kits of memory, putting them into a validated system, and then having those same systems fail on me. Do you want to know something crazy? My Threadripper 7980X, 64-core Threadripper, Asus Sage motherboard, TRX 40, or 40? I don't remember. You know, Zen 4 Threadripper, 64 cores, DDR5, 6600 megatransfer per second memory. Received a validated kit as part of a reviewer kit, like, this kit will work with this board. If I move my graphics card from one PCI slot to the other, my memory will fail. My memory will fail validation. I have to go back and retrain it. If I move my graphics card, my memory will fail validation.
Wow. That's how sensitive, huh?
I have to go back and retrain my memory.
Oh, man.
It is so annoying. So yeah, no, now that you bring up memory validation green, and I know that's kind of your specialty, that does make perfect sense for Ryzen. Why we see an abnormally high failure rate with them is because it's not necessarily CPUs failing. It could be memory controller failures or memory controller issues with validated memory.
We're getting down to the bottom here.
I'm right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what does this mean for Intel? Again, this is one outlet. Right. This is look, Puget Systems does a lot of professional workstations. That's their bread and butter. I don't know the numbers that Puget Systems has sold. I don't know the ratio of AMD to Intel. I don't know, raw numbers. All they're showing us is the percentage of systems that have failed, not necessarily the sample size of systems that have failed, if that makes sense. So again, you have to take all these numbers with a grain of salt. But the fact that Intel is acknowledging that permanent damage is occurring, regardless of platform, regardless of motherboard, regardless of vendor, it was a microcode execution error. It was sending too much voltage to the SoC, to the ring bus, that is causing permanent timing damages with your CPUs, which will eventually result in CPU degradation up to and including outright failure. That's not a good look. How many of us in the PC space bought a Zen 3 CPU and a 4,000 kit of memory and went, surely this will work? And you went in and you did memory timings and you're trying to get everything right. And then you went, screw it, I'm just going to run XMP at 3600 and it's rock solid stable, and you never thought another thing about it. Zen 3 was supposed to be able to run at 4,000, up to 4,400. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't.
Right.
Is that a failure? 99% of the population probably wouldn't think so. They'd probably just run it at 3600 and go, silicon lottery, chalk it up. Let alone, no one's going to, the average person's not going to go in and tweak their memory and everything else. They're going to turn on XMP and be done.
Yeah.
And Puget Systems isn't doing a lot of overclocking for people. Again, they build workstations. They build professional systems, which means stability is king. So if memory didn't work at the advertised clock speed, that's an outright failure. The Intel failures, I'm guessing, are more akin to CPU failures. CPU failures to hit clock speed marks, performance marks, power draw marks, or longevity and stability marks.
Yeah.
And that is pure speculation on my part. But that's also based on someone who's used every single one of these CPUs over the last 5 years.
Puget Systems is being a more business-oriented boutique shop. Longevity would probably be, they'd probably have good numbers for longevity.
Right.
Yeah.
So, 2% failure rate. I'm curious to see. Intel may have to eventually disclose failure rates, whether that comes in the lawsuit, the impending lawsuit class action that a lot of different people are starting to investigate for the failure of Intel 13th, 14th gen CPUs. Whether that's investor calls, investors going, what kind of a hit are we looking at? Are we looking at 5% of overall inventory that was sold of that? Are we looking at 10%? Intel will likely be required to publicly state the failure rate for these chips. We'll know more then, because those numbers can't be fudged. So it's interesting to see from a vendor's perspective what the failure rate looks like. But we also have to keep in mind that's not the official story. But how big of a deal is this, and how widespread, and how much is this going to cost Intel? Well, if it ends up only being 2%, that's way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I know.
I figured we'd already be up above 5-6% with the outrage that's online. But so these numbers honestly shocked me. They honestly shocked me at being so low.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how much negative hype could explode in your mind as being something bigger than what it really is. But like you said, it's still a microcosm but it's just another notch in the belt. It's just one little data point that you got to keep in mind when thinking about this particular situation.
Right. Yep. All right. It is 10 past the hour. I think it's time for another beer. Are you ready? Are you ready for yours?
My body's ready. I'm girding up my loins for this 13% IPA.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Quadruple IPA, 13.4%.
Okay, it's been a while since I've had a high ABV beer, but the last time I had a real high one, they were stouts, pastry stouts and stuff like that. And usually I have small amounts, right?
Yeah, good little 4-ouncer.
Yeah.
Right?
This is going to be a full 16 ounce of an IPA. So let's go. Let's see. Oh man, let me smell this. Ooh, kind of smells fruity actually.
So I'm opening a Dieu de Seal. Piche Mortel? Yeah, Piche Mortel? Something like that.
Yeah,
I don't speak
German,
French.
not French. Yeah.
Yeah, I took German, not French. I don't speak French, but it is an imperial coffee stout, clocking in at 9.5%. And it was from. Oh no, sorry. There's an English description on here. Rich roasted malt flavored with vibrant coffee aromas. After the dry and bitter finish, this deep dark beer leaves a lasting impression.
Okay.
Sweet.
Oh, just to clarify, this is beer is called Lost in the Mail, spelled M-A-I-L, not M-A-L-E. Just clarify.
Yeah. So this is from Saint Jerome, Quebec, up in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And again, thank you to Malbeth for sending this one in.
Yeah. Oh man. This one is
okay, it pours like coffee.
This IPA is like a very hoppy malt liquor, because that is basically what it is. This is basically a hoppy malt liquor.
Oh no.
You
got a hop natty ice over there?
It's still sweeter than natty ice. It's pretty high up there. Oh my God, I don't know. I wouldn't. It's good. I don't know. That alcohol, you can really taste the alcohol in this one.
Yeah.
Like a lot of beers, you can't really taste. Even at like 9-10%, you can't really taste the alcohol.
Right. You get like a Ninkasi Megalodon, right, or
Yeah, you can. The hop masks it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's a pretty beer.
Yeah, it's a nice pour. Not like your other one before. Your Dairy
Right.
Queen
No,
pour.
this one's Dairy Queen pour. We should copyright that as a pour.
Oh, that's thick.
Yeah. I didn't think it would be, but we got full eclipse on this one.
Yeah, so. You did. It's gonna be super roasty. I bet that thick. It's gonna have a super roasty taste to it.
It smells very sweet, and I wasn't really expecting that.
Now this one is, the hop flavor is not masking the sweetness. The sweetness is definitely there. The hop flavor is masking the alcohol flavor. It's definitely there. God, this might have been a bad decision. I don't know.
That is such a great description. There's so much hops, I can barely taste the alcohol burn.
I mean, this is 13%. We're approaching schnapps level. This is almost beer schnapps.
By the way, I have a can of this in my fridge too.
Oh, I know. You're going to enjoy it. I recommend splitting it with somebody. I don't think, but there's nobody else in your house that could drink it.
Right.
Just
right,
you.
Right. It's just me. Oh, excuse me. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, Hoppy Mickey's malt liquor. It's a higher ABV. It's a little sweeter than Mickey's. This is a little sweeter than Mickey's. In fact, I just had a Mickey. Well, I didn't have a whole Mickey's, but I tasted a Mickey's on 4th of July. Someone brought one over.
Share with Rhett. You know what? I think I talked to Rhett about this. September 4th is our 350th show.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel like every 50 we should do an in-person.
Yeah, that would be good. I like when we do our in-persons. Those are always fun.
So maybe we can do an in-person here. Maybe we'll make it even on like the 6th. We'll do like a Friday night show so we could all show up and not have to work the next day.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I've got a pull-out couch. You can sleep it off. Like...
That's part of the problem of doing on a Wednesday night. My wife is all like, "Oh, you kind of go to Jeff and drink a 13% beer, are you?"
Right. It was one thing when we lived a mile apart.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
2 blocks apart. That was
2 blocks apart. Yeah.
Those were dangerous. There were 6 months where Steve and I lived literally 2 blocks from each other. And we would finish a show, and Steve would immediately stand up and open my liquor cabinet and go like, "What new whiskeys do you have?"
Yeah, I know.
And so we'd spend the next hour from like...
just tasting it.
You know, and by the way, my show used to be at 8 p.m. and ended at 10 p.m. Mm-hmm. And so at 10:01, Steve is opening my whiskey cabinet, and we're slamming down whiskeys. Then some of the night, so like 10:30, it's like we've had 2 or 3 snifters each. We would then walk back to Steve's house, where his neighbor would come out and go, "Hey, I saw your show ended. You've got to try this new beer." And so he'd open like a 14%er for us, and we'd sit in the driveway and drink a 14%er until midnight.
Oh man! And this was on a Wednesday night too. It was.
And we all worked at like 7 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh god, some of those mornings were terrible.
Yeah.
They were fun evenings. Terrible mornings. Mornings filled with regret that coffee can't even cover up.
Yeah. I don't even know if I want to publicly say this, but the worst night is the night that I didn't recognize your neighbor's wife and she had to walk me home.
Oh, that's right. Yes. What was it? There was something that broke out.
It was a Mother of All Storms.
Mother of All Storms. That's right.
Yeah, you broke out the barley wine.
Yeah, and that's what tipped you over the edge. Which tips over. Don't be ashamed, because that tips over a lot of people over the edge.
Yeah,
barley wines are nothing to be trifled with.
Yep. No, it was. By the way, I'm Jeff. She's like, "I know who you are, Jeff." I woke up the next morning going, "Oh God, I feel so bad."
Well, they moved away, so
they moved. It's fine now.
You could come back. They moved away.
Yeah. Yeah, she had to walk me the 2 blocks home.
Yeah, I know.
It was a different time, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
How's it going? Is that good?
Oh, that woke me right up.
Okay, so you got some coffee notes in there.
Oh, that's coffee.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's almost exactly like I like my coffee.
Those are the kind of stouts that I like. The super roasty coffee, almost like coffee.
Very roasty.
Yeah.
Very roasty, black coffee, bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit dry. The smell is way sweeter than the beer lens on.
Yeah.
Like you can smell the coffee in the aroma.
Yeah.
There's almost like a little bit of dark chocolate, maybe a little caramel in the aroma.
Yeah.
That rich, earthy sweetness kind of thing. But then when you're into it, it is all coffee.
That's good, because like when I enjoy a pint of stout, that's how I like it. When I'm gonna have a pastry stout, I want a small snifter of it, because a little bit goes a long way.
I'm 30 seconds later, I still taste coffee.
Taste coffee, yeah. It's still lingering.
Oh,
just like straight up black coffee. It's the same thing, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Well, then you can thank my Beth again.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, I was opening these and I said, Malbeth, like a lot of people understand my tastes, know my tastes.
There you go.
Oh, that is good. That is fantastic. I need more of that. Unfortunately, it's in Quebec.
Yeah. Well, I have
I'm
some
not going to
coworkers.
Quebec.
I have some coworkers in Quebec. Maybe I can get them to send me some.
Yeah, I'm not going to Quebec. I'm going to Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, yeah. Are you going back to 45 drives, huh?
Go back to 45 drives.
Nice.
I fly out on the 24th.
All right.
Yeah. Jeff's French connection. So we've talked the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the CrowdStrike was a major outage. Lasted longer for some people than others. And we knew that there were going to be some pending litigation against CrowdStrike and potentially against Microsoft, although I don't see how Microsoft could at all be held liable for any of this BS. Delta Airlines felt otherwise because Delta Airlines suffered nearly a week-long outage.
Yes.
Because of CrowdStrike, because of the impetus of CrowdStrike. And is trying to hold CrowdStrike and Microsoft fully liable for the damages incurred by the company, which you could say was gross negligence by CrowdStrike, and I would definitely argue that, although I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, although I don't know any Delta and or CrowdStrike executives that watch this channel.
It would be odd, but okay.
Yeah, we said there's probably some grounds for lawsuits for damages, you know, especially in the immediacy of repair work and whatnot. The Delta situation, this has evolved. So Delta counted up nearly $500 million in damages because of canceled flights, waylaid passengers, passenger reimbursement for hotel and meals and bag retrieval and everything else that went wrong with Delta system for the nearly week of outages that Delta suffered. It was bad. However, Microsoft and CrowdStrike are looking around at companies with, dare I say, competent IT departments and going, why was everyone else only out for 12 hours? They had it figured out and were back up and running and at full capacity. Within hours of this outage.
But Delta, not so much.
Like, the US woke up in the morning like nothing happened for American Airlines. Delta, why were you out for a week? Could it have to do with your woefully incompetent and understaffed and failing infrastructure that is your IT department? Isn't some of this on you? That's the current argument from Microsoft, and they are throwing down gloves right now.
I don't know if it was so much IT, and it could be, very much could be. But one of their arguments too was their outdated systems.
Yeah.
And that could also be part of it as well. Whereas, like, maybe somebody shoehorned a legacy system through Azure that uses CloudStrike, and CloudStrike caused it to fail, and then the person who installed the legacy system is long gone in the company, and the current IT systems had no idea how to bring it back up. That happens all the time, all over the place. Like, we implement a system, there's no documentation, no one documents anything, no one knows anything. The one guy who did left, and it just runs and it worked. And so, but once there's a catastrophic failure, they have no way of knowing how to spin it back up. That could be it too, especially knowing that it took a week for them to get it back up. Which makes me think that maybe it wasn't, because I mean, like, you can get really high end, like a company like Delta, if they wanted a knowledgeable person in IT, they could have hired somebody really quickly to come in and look at this stuff.
Yeah.
If they had a proprietary legacy system that one person or maybe 2 or 3 person implemented way back when and has since left the company, an expert IT person would still take a week to try to figure out how to deploy it or get it back up.
Yeah, here's the deal. The outages occurred on July 19th. Okay. And hundreds of companies were affected by this. It was not a mystery as to what the outage was, what occurred, and more importantly, what the fix was. The impetus was on Delta to implement the fix.
Yeah.
That was on, what? Sorry, I want to get my timelines correct. July 19th was a Friday. That's right. It was a Friday. By Sunday, CrowdStrike had already issued a statement saying that Delta had straight up refused CrowdStrike's help. CrowdStrike IT, having shored up all of their other contracts, said, "Hey, Delta, you guys having problems over there?"
Yeah,
hey,
and they said, "No, we're cool."
Hey, buddy. And Delta went, "No, we're cool. We got it.
Yeah.
We got this figured out."
This
Microsoft reached out to them on Monday and Tuesday and said, Hey, neighbor, I noticed you're still out. Do you need... And they're like, "We got it. God damn it." Yeah. That's how that went.
Yeah, there's that right after you talked about that, the paragraph right under that, it says, "But meanwhile, the computer problems at Delta knocked out its crucial crew tracking system offline for a better part of a week." So the week outage was their crew tracking system. That makes me think that it was a proprietary tracking system that they developed and they didn't know how to spin it back up. That's what makes me think that was the case. That it was somebody that they didn't document how to bring it back up. They didn't document how to spin it back up if it ever was a catastrophic failure. And like I said, it happens a lot. It happens a lot more than you think.
Yep. Yeah, direct quote from CNN Business. But meanwhile, the computer problems at Delta knocked its crucial crew tracking system offline for the better part of a week, making it impossible for the company to find pilots and flight attendants needed to fly its aircraft. While other airlines were quick to resume normal operations, again, most airlines were back up in full operation within 12 hours, or at least competent enough, operation to resume operations. After the CrowdStrike outage, Delta was forced to cancel 30% of flights over 5 days, resulting in an estimated 500,000 passengers stranded. And again, if you have to write those passengers a $1,000 check for hotel accommodations, food vouchers, rescheduled flights, rebooking, finding lost luggage, etc., returning checked bags, that all costs money, plus labor, plus everything else. It's easy to see how how $500 million clocked up. It got to the point that on July 24th, this was Wednesday? Yeah. The Wednesday after the outage, so 5 days later, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella emailed Mastodon, according to the letter. In fact, it is rapidly becoming apparent that Delta likely refused Microsoft's help because the IT system it was most having trouble restoring, its crew and tracking scheduling system, was being serviced by other technology partners such as IBM because it runs on those partners' provided systems, not Microsoft Windows or Azure.
IBM. God dang. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had to maintain an Oracle database or have to deal with Oracle databases before.
Thank God, no. Although I've heard, I know quite a few DBAs.
Oracle is in the same realm as, they're different than IBM, but they're very much in the same realm of security through obscurity. Like they just make all of their systems way too obscure, and you have to have certifications to use them, type of the stuff. Once you delve into them and recognize the basics of them, they're the same as just about any other system.
Yeah.
But they just obfuscate every single thing that goes around it. So that might be part of it, honestly. That somebody was probably developing something with IBM tools. I don't know. This is just one article. I'm speculating here. And I've dealt with IBM stuff. I've dealt with Oracle stuff. There's much better tools out there to deal with those type of things. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So yeah, the fact that Delta was out for a week, it seemingly may have nothing to do with CrowdStrike at all.
Probably not, and I think it has something to do with their IT staff not knowing how to bring a system back up, like lack of documentation, lack of expertise.
Right.
Somebody did some kind of special customization with something, didn't document it. No one knew what was going on. They had to probably retroactively try to figure it out, dig through the code. The fact that it took a week, I bet you somebody was digging through source code to try to figure this out. I guarantee it.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
But I just love that statement. They're like, Microsoft reached out to help, and it turns out what the system that was down wasn't the Microsoft system.
Oh yeah, Michael S. outsourced. That's probably actually more accurate. Outsourced instead of
Yep. So yeah, interesting developments there. This is going to be really, really fun if this ends up going to court, because there's going to be a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Just like I said with Intel, there's going to be a lot of things that come to light about, was Intel knowledgeable of the potential of system degradation if they boosted numbers simply to get that 1% and 2% lead over Zen 4 like they wanted? And was the payoff and efficiency worth it? Was the 230 watts versus 120 watts worth the trade-off to get that performance crown? Did it boost their brand enough to pay for the impending failures? Were they aware that there could be impending failures? If this ends up going to court, that's going to come out.
If there's discovery, it's going to be embarrassing for Delta probably. So
yeah,
I think they'll either drop it or they'll settle.
Yeah,
that's probably what's going to happen.
Likely, if I was in Delta's shoes, I am suing for as much as I possibly can, saying your outage caused me 1 week of lost revenue on 30% of my flights. Here's my 30% revenue tickets and reimbursements, and thank you very much. And through discovery, they will have to disclose what their actual accountable losses were as a direct result of the Microsoft thing. They'll go, oh, it was 130 million, and Microsoft will write a check for 130, or CrowdStrike will write a check for 130 million and call it a day. Not Microsoft, because Microsoft isn't, in my opinion,
really
all liable for any of this.
Yeah, they're not liable for any of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just as affected as everybody else.
Right.
Except like everybody blamed Microsoft, but yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for once it wasn't Microsoft's fault.
I know. It was kind of funny because everybody else, because like we use Microsoft Azure, and the most we were affected during the outage was I think a few people couldn't log into their VMs. That was about it. And it might not have been the same thing. But yeah, I know people like John who were out in Florida. Oh, she's up.
She's awake. Not puppies. Not puppies. Yeah, she's getting big.
Yeah.
She's getting very big.
She needs a Chewbacca bandolier.
She totally does. Oh my gosh. She's got the exact right hair for it.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just like she needs that silver blocked bandolier that Chewbacca wears.
Yeah. Cute lapdog. She's a lapdog for right now. She's going to be big.
For now, she's going to be huge.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, puppy. Yeah. She's very sweet.
Yeah. My brother has a Labradoodle, and she's a very, very sweet dog.
Yeah. She woke up, so I figured I'd pick her up. And
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, get the scritches. Get the scritches so you can...
You gotta play the doggo tool.
Yep. Doggo tool.
Doggo tool.
Yep. There we go. All right. There we go.
All right.
She has the brain of a small dog, even though she's getting larger.
But the body, yeah.
And so she likes to sit under the legs of my rolling chair.
So
only
she be careful.
Barely fits right now.
Yeah.
See, I always have to be cognizant of where she's at, so I don't just like suddenly roll and like yeah. Exactly. We have a gate across our kitchen, and up until very recently, again, we've only had her 5 weeks, she's been able to like scoot right under it. Well, all of a sudden her chest is so proud that she can't get, so she's like army crawling to get under the gate to get between the two areas. She's got about another 3 days of fitting under that gate.
And then she's gonna like realize that I don't fit anymore and gonna get stuck. And then
she's already starting to realize it. It's like she'll put her head under and go, nah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's like my son. He wanted to play hide and seek, and he grew like 1.5 inches over the summer. It was insane how much he grew. And he wanted to play hide and seek, and then his normal places that he hides, he's like, his feet are sticking out now, and his like, it's like, all right, I see where you're at now, Max. I can see you, buddy. Like, I can't fit in there anymore, Dad.
Little Bit keeps trying to sneak up on me and scare me, which is adorable for a couple of reasons. Number one, she has the stealth of a cardboard box.
Oh yeah.
He's adorable, but she cannot walk anywhere without making noise.
Oh yeah.
Number two, I've been the manager of a haunted house for 20 years. I teach people how to sneak up on people.
Yeah. That's not it. You got the sneaking skill of a Clydesdale.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really funny. All my kids will try to come up and I don't flinch for anything. Like, why didn't you jump? It's like, because I heard you open your bedroom door like 3 minutes ago.
I knew you were coming for like 5 minutes. I was like...
Yeah. Solid Snake has shown cardboard box can be sneaky. Yeah, but I'm not as stupid as Russian soldiers, so...
Yeah.
Or, Dishonored guards. What was that noise? Must have been the wind.
Must have been the wind. They must have tinnitus because I've never heard wind sound like that before.
Yeah. The wind sounded very much like an arrow flying by my head. A little bit of AI news tonight. OpenAI confirms the existence of a watermarking tool that they haven't like said that they're going to deploy it. They haven't said that it's like available yet. But it's an interesting concept of basically generated text being algorithmically identifiable.
Yes.
So you can very quickly and easily identify what is AI-generated text, at least through OpenAI's ChatGPT program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, cheating, number one, shouldn't happen. Number two, is very rampant, especially with the release of ChatGPT. The better your prompt, the better your paper, the better your grade, and the more college graduates we're going to get that can barely write prompts, let alone program. So it is what it is. That
was the question. Real quick, that was the question I kind of had with this text watermarking. They kind of focused on this article about mostly academia and writing papers and whatnot. My thought was, is it going to work with like people who try to do it with code? They use OpenAI for code, like write me an algorithm that does blah blah blah.
I don't think it will, based on my understanding of this particular algorithm.
Yeah, I think we'll get into that. Yeah, okay. Well, let's proceed.
Yeah. So anyway, this was actually a story from back on May 4th in a blog post to OpenAI's blog. They basically disclosed that our team has developed a text watermarking method as we continue to consider as research alternatives. What are you chewing on? Hey, stop it. Yeah, stop it. She's like batting and chewing at like the metal leg of my desk. And then I nudged her with my foot, and so she batted at my foot.
Like, no, I want to keep
it was adorable. She's a very handsy dog. It's very funny. Anyway, if you pet her and then you stop, she will start petting you.
It's just like, well,
hey, I didn't say you could stop.
Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Anyway, our teams have developed a text watermarking method as we continue to consider as we research alternatives. And basically, what this was explained to be is text that alphanumerically will add up to a certain checksum. And so basically per sentence or per phrase or paragraph or whatever of generated text, you can check it to see the existence of certain checksums. Now, not every sentence is going to line up, but let's say you give every letter a value. And the AI can calculate this very quickly, going, well, I've got 38 words to choose from that could mean this particular word, but this sentence needs to have an ending value, or a certain number of sentences need to have an ending checksum value of 17. And so let's say I need to have 40% of my sentences end with a checksum value of 17. That will determine my word choice in this particular paragraph, which will lead to a verifiable checksum at the end. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, and then you add them all together, get your average, and you get a checksum value of whatever. That's the idea. That's a really interesting concept. And because humans aren't going to be privy to this, humans are going to be random. You're going to get values from 0 to 98 as far as your averages go.
Right.
You know, you might get a couple repeated values, but you're never going to get the same value over and over and over again. Whereas you can program an algorithmically generated set. Hey, you can program an algorithmically generated set of text phrases to
calculate a checksum,
Right, to calculate a checksum, to give you a value, an average value at the end of... one sec.
Or even a percentage of an average value. Because like people will, if people get word of this and they know that there's some kind of watermark on there, they're just like, oh, well, I'll just change some words around, I'll move some sentences around or something like that. Right. It has to be an average of checksums. It has to have some kind of like...
it would be a median of checksums. It would be this checksum value appears 38 times out of 60. Throughout the sentences in this generated set of text. And the idea that a human would ever generate that is literally zero.
Literally zero. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a really interesting concept, and I think it solves a pretty serious situation with a very simplistic approach. We can program AI to generate text just to swap out a word to change an end result value that is numerically assigned randomly, and can tell an authority figure or whoever else that, yeah, this indeed was generated by AI.
Yeah, which I thought was a really novel concept. And you're right, very simple and easy to implement. Lots of things use checksums. But the only thing is that once word gets out that OpenAI is using this, they'll just like use a different, or they can spin their own up if they really wanted to.
And that was my immediate thought, is the people who need to know about this, or the people who this would catch cheating, aren't going to be the ones that you necessarily need to catch cheating.
Right, they're so smart. If they're able to spin up their own large language model AI server and be able to generate their own papers with it, are probably fairly intelligent already. They're just lazy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That, and my counterpoint was, while OpenAI has not open sourced ChatGPT, there are dozens of other large language model open source algorithms already available that you can self-host or rent an instance on a server for pennies on the dollar. You know, paying $5 to help an algorithm auto-generate an essay for you.
Yeah.
That's the cost of doing business in college. Add it to my loan amount.
Yeah, that's pennies on the dollar, man.
Now, submitting a good paper with accurate information.
Are you gonna open up craft essays or craft doctorates?
No.
Come into I'll craft your own doctorate or essay or whatever college paper you want.
Oh God, what's the terminology for that? I am not an accredited university.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to be. You just have to be able to use AI to crank out clean AI generated papers is all you have to do.
I don't know that I want to do that.
No, I don't. Well, you know.
I thought you were asking if I wanted to open my own university, to which I would respond,
no,
I'm not accredited.
No. You get your some Tor browser website going on, some black market, college paper generating thing. It's going to be completely clean. It'll pass every AI detection, every AI watermark going on out there.
I will say, one cool thing that I am actively investigating and looking to invest in is the possibility of co-locating a server. Specifically for my patrons. So if you have Discord access, if you have if you are a Patreon backer, basically being an unlimited or nearly unlimited or very, very high use AI server with multiple different services running. So whether it's music generation, whether it's LLM, whether it's image generation, whether it's video, giving you access to a dedicated server, dedicated bare metal, where you can run these kinds of systems.
Whatever,
I don't know that that's going to happen exactly this year, but it is something I am highly investigating. So depending on your tier level on Patreon, you would get a certain number of tokens or maybe an unlimited number per month. Because hosting is expensive, even with the hosting services that I know. Like there's got to be money made somewhere, and you know, $1 a month gets you 500 queries.
Right.
$20 a month gets you unlimited. Like we could totally make that work.
That would be kind of interesting. You can even have, if you're going to do music generation, you can even have the sound file that generates the music. You can throw in some of John's drum beats or whatever you want. Just like I got a little touch of Craft in there, just a little touch of Rhett, a little touch of Jeff, a little touch of John.
One potential avenue for revenue, or even just giving back to the community that I've highly considered, has been doing some open source or Creative Commons music backing tracks. And so maybe getting John and Rhett and I to generate some looping tracks that people can utilize freely. Like no accreditation, nothing needed in comments or anything, just a Creative Commons fully licensed track that you can use in your own projects.
I can do the kazoo track if you want.
Right, there you go.
Or the armpit fart track. That's one of my talents that I can provide for that.
So yeah, I've fully thought about that as well. Brent in my Discords yelled at the guy who's going to eventually be hosting this for me and says, "Spin one up for Jeff." And the guy who's eventually going to be hosting says, "Sadly, I'm not watching the show." Yakto, you and I have talked about this. Don't worry when you're watching later.
I am just typing. Yep. No, it would be good because I think if people who are on the Discord in the audience, Jeff kind of gave a hint as one of his future videos is going to be more AI oriented in it. Because you did a video a while back about hosting your own.
Yeah, I did a video on Stable Diffusion and training it with your own face. I've been playing around with it a lot over the months. And again, I'm approaching this as the interest of a very small budget creator, whether it's a video creator, a photo creator, whatever else. I don't have a huge budget, but I have big ideas, and the idea of being able to utilize AI to see some of those to fruition, is it going to be, big budget numbers? No, but I don't need it to be. I just need it to be better than my ability. And in fact, I shot an ad recently, and that's actually going to tie into the next video. So in the next video, I'm going over a couple AI tools that I've been looking at utilizing for my own work. And the ad on that video is a video that incorporates some of the AI elements that I generated for the video in question, which is really fun. In the past, if I needed to incorporate an image that, let's say I wanted to place myself on a green screen and put me into, you know, the Amazon rainforest.
Right.
Like, let's just say that was the circumstance I was looking at. I would need to locate an image of the Amazon rainforest.
Yep.
And then license that image for my particular use case. Or sign up for a service that licenses it for me. You know, your story blocks, there's a dozen different services that do this. That license images and videos for use in creative media. The really cool thing about AI is based on AI use models, you can generate an image and then use that image.
Yeah.
And it's license free. Now, whether or not that's stealing from creators, that's an entirely different argument. I have a full op-ed. I have a full op-ed.
We talked about it. We talked about that. Yeah.
On that. But the current legality is I can utilize an image generated by AI. There is no license copyright holder for that. And so if someone were to steal that image, I have no recourse because it was an AI generated image.
It's not. Yeah. Who cares? But then if it's something that you published, you published it on your video. You didn't publish for somebody else to download. They would technically have to cut you out. And at that point, that's ridiculous. They would just generate their own AI image. It would be easier for them to do that. Okay. Oh, we got bedtimes. Bedtimes are important. Good night. There you are. Hi, good night.
Okay, so you all recognize my little helper from the last video. And that's Miss. She's gotten freaking
quite tall. Yeah.
Yes.
And a pixie cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the last time you saw me, I was 9.
Yeah, it's been a couple years.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I know. I have to lock my door too because Max is obsessed with YouTube and he wants to come on the camera all the time.
There we go.
All right.
So yeah, the implication of being able to use AI to achieve my creative visions that I have as a content creator is huge. And one of the things that I've been excited about is not only image generation, but music generation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, do I want to spend 40 hours mastering a backing track that I came up with myself? Or would I rather give an AI that prompt of the feel and the speed and the rhythm that is in my head, and then be happy enough with what it generates, and then just utilize that and maybe remix that slightly. But then again, maybe I'm only 2 hours into a 40-hour project. That's still 38 hours of time saved that I don't have to do it myself.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm still a musician. I still know good music from bad music. I still know how to do all this. But if an AI can help in my creative process, that's a win, right?
Well, especially if you want just like a small clip too. And it depends on your prompts. You get good prompts, you get something decent out of there. You're just having it. You're not sitting there playing, a 10-minute orchestra. You're usually using it for like maybe a minute tops. So if it sounds pretty decent, use it. And that's going to speed up music production quite a bit.
Right. But yeah, one of the things I'm looking at doing is hosting a lot of these services on a dedicated AI server and giving access to my patrons based on their Discord membership. So if you're a member of Craft Computing Discord, depending on your membership, you get a certain amount of tokens per month or unlimited tokens per month or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, just keep using it.
I have to write this whole thing or hire someone to write this whole authentication thing. But that's probably and very likely coming as a future Patreon perk that I'm going to be adding to the server.
That's a very unique perk. I have never heard anybody trying to implement that before.
Right?
That's very unique. Yeah, like you're a member of us. You got you have this right level. AI usage. You get AI usage.
Right. Yeah. So, that's coming. I don't know when that announcement is going to be. I don't even know if it's going to be this year because I have so much on my plate that I'm trying to finish up this year, namely the retail launch of the PoE Axe Effect, which is going very well. We are almost done with the power phase of Axe Effect, and I've got some really, really fun news on that I can't wait to share. But yeah.
So you sold all your beta units, right?
We sold 400 beta units in total.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah. So
that's good news.
No, that was gangbusters, and we're hoping once we go full retail that it'll be even better. So I did send out some samples to a number of YouTubers, and I actually requested most of them not even make videos because I didn't want this to get too big, and I didn't want people to go, oh, I want that Wi-Fi Axe Effect, and I didn't want to commit to like making 1,000 of them and then not being able to sell the retail versions.
Right.
I wanted the beta to be a beta.
Yeah.
Right.
Limited.
Right. I wanted it to grow organically, which is a very difficult thing to do in business. But I've had so much interest in the PoE versions. The PoE version, I think, is going to be something that you are all going to absolutely love. It's bringing a lot of really cool features that aren't frankly available in the space right now, especially at the price points that I'm going to be offering. So, what, one more hug? Okay, one more hug.
Story?
All right.
Nope.
No story?
No story. Not tonight.
Why?
Because it's Wednesday.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I wish it was Wednesday.
I know. I read you books every night except Wednesdays. Don't do that. All right.
Okay.
Good night. All right.
Don't take it by. Let me hear you. He's a biter.
Sometimes you use dad voice, sometimes you use dad eyes.
Yes, that's right. Let's go now. It's time to go.
Sometimes you use the people's eyebrow, like whatever gets the job done.
The best reaction is the greatest reaction.
Yeah. So, we've got like 2 other stories to get to. Should we?
Which one do you want to do? Because we're already at 8.
We're at 8 o'clock. I think we can hit this next one super quick, and then we'll finish with Half-Life 3.
Sure.
Okay. NanoKVM. This has popped up so many freaking times in my DMs and recommendations and tweets and everything else. And surprisingly enough, this little RISC-V powered Sipeed side project has apparently been riddled with security vulnerabilities. Improper implementation of HTTPS, no real certified handshakes, shared keys, hard-coded keys, all the things that you don't want in a machine that has bare access. Your access to bare metal.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So yes, I am aware of this product. I haven't purchased one yet. They haven't reached out to me either for review. I did want to wait until they were for full retail. I knew they were in the beta phases of of their firmware, and I'm actually a little bit glad that I didn't do this, because I'll be quite honest with you, I'm not a security researcher. Programming and open source code deposition is not my forte.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not going to be the one that finds a security vulnerability in a product like this. So I would likely get a product like this and recommend it because it does the feature that it
and you wouldn't know that it had, direct access to your devices. It's like anybody could just go and access it.
Which is also why you always look at multiple reviewers and look at their inherent biases, because I might look at a product and go, this solved so many issues for me, and then someone else looks at it and goes, this has a backdoor to China, right? And I went, I was not aware. Now, as far as like backdoors and sending home, like almost every device that I get in, I do a bit of wiretapping on, or wire sharking on. I will look at in and out traffic. I will look for flagrant violations of IPs and things like that. That's standard operating procedure, especially because I review a lot of AliExpress Chinese special motherboards.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
You got to make sure that there's not the super microchip that never existed on them. But as far as like investigating the actual firmware, that's not my wheelhouse. It's not what I do. But I guess that Sipeed is on top of this. They are actively looking at it. They said that the expediency of the development required that they cut some corners early on. And so they might have hard-coded some keys, but now that they're aware that about it, they're going to go the other direction.
To be fair, I've hard-coded some things in my development for testing purposes. But I've always removed them for Q&A.
Right.
I've always removed them for Q&A. Yes, I have hard-coded thing for testing. I'm testing the same scenario over and over again because I want to make sure it works.
Yeah.
So I hard-code stuff.
Yeah.
But I always remove that when I send it to QA.
Yeah. They're saying they're fixing it. Who knows if they are? They say that the first stable firmware will be 8.15, and they will be looking at the security problems then. Yeah. Whether that means 8.15 will have the same security vulnerabilities, and then they'll start addressing them, or they'll be fixed by that point. Who knows?
Who knows? All this thing does is when the final product comes out, people will have extra scrutiny on it. They are really going to try to hammer on this thing to see if they fix the issue. Because they say their excuse was, oh, this is beta. We did this for expedience. We made it so it's easy to put out, their beta versions of it so people can test it. And then people tested it and found there's huge vulnerabilities in it, which just means when the final version comes out, it's going to get hammered to death. They're going to really try to break this thing. Which, if they do and it doesn't happen, that's good. That's good for them, right? Yeah. They'll be like, yeah, we couldn't break it.
Yep.
It was very hard to hack. That's what somebody would hope. Because it does look like a very cool little piece of kit. All right. What else we got? I think we lost Jeff for a second. He's typing something.
Sorry.
He's responding. I'm responding. There we go.
People are asking who's going to be getting a version of Axe Effect. So Novella Hub suggested that I send one of the NanoKVMs over to Gamers Nexus. I thought he was talking about Axe Effect, and I said, Axe Effect really isn't in Gamers Nexus's demographic. Like, it's just not a product that I think they would demonstrate properly. They don't deal with server gear. Yeah. Neither does Hardware Unboxed, neither does Paul, neither does Kyle. No offense to any of those outlets, it's not their demographic. The demographic that it is home lab, small, medium business. And so people like Patrick Kennedy and Wendell and Other Jeff and Techno Tim and Hardware Haven and Radal and Veronica Explains, people that run home labs or do home lab and small, medium business related content will be receiving an Axe Effect for review. Whether they review it or not is completely up to them. I'm sending it free of charge, and this is my first time as a vendor in this situation, which is freaking weird. Linus Tech Tips will be getting one because they do server room content from time to time. And maybe this is a problem that they need to solve, and maybe this is a problem that they can demonstrate accurately. So... Yep. Question, are some of these vulnerabilities down to it being on risk 5? That I don't know. I didn't read far enough into the vulnerabilities to get that. A lot of it came down to... so speaking of the NanoKVM, a lot of their vulnerabilities, as I understand it, came down to the video stream being very similar to a security camera video stream in which it was an MJPEG stream that was publicly accessible in a bin directory. And so regardless of your access permissions, you could get a video feed signal by simply going to the IP address /bin/MJPEG.
Yeah, and just look at whatever they had there. You could basically see everything.
Yeah. Axe Effect version 4, a decibel meter per server with API access for customer billing so you can bill per decibel. Oh, that's funny. Veronica can do a COBOL version. Yeah, so, yeah. I'm not going to send this to the usual suspects in the consumer space. I'm going to send this to the usual suspects in the home lab / small medium business space, because that's where this product makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not that it can't be used in the consumer space, but can you tell me that Gamers Nexus and Hardware Unboxed and Kyle and Paul and whatnot understand SNMP and the needs of a small medium business or home lab rack? None of them
Probably
run
not,
one.
No.
And this is no offense to them. It's just a different demographic.
Yeah, their use case would not make any sense whatsoever.
Right. And they're the ones that will likely say, well, yeah, I could just fire up a $10 sensor for Home Assistant, you know, and my job's done. Then they're missing the point of the product. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ouch, that's a pretty rough vulnerability. Yeah, that's the big one. But there's like dozens of very similar ones. There was also one that you could completely bypass authenticated privilege and move straight to root. Like it had straight up root privilege enabled in one of the streams. There were so many little problems with this. That and the SSH key or SHA key being publicly accessible and hard-coded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. Even me as like a layman, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
How long have we waited to talk about the next story?
Well, it's been cropping up for here and there.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years.
I can still smell the decontaminant.
But this is the first time in a long time that there's actually been some validity to any type of rumor about this.
That's what makes this one cool.
Yeah.
That's what makes this one special. So, of course, we are talking about Half-Life 3. Is this the new Duke Nukem Forever?
I think it's surpassed Duke Nukem Forever at this point. I have to go back and look as far. Well, I would say this is not as bad as Duke Nukem Forever because Duke Nukem Forever actually had footage of the game at one point
It did.
And then they just, but there's no, this is just rumors. This has always been rumor. This has always been speculation. There has never been footage or anything like that.
And in fact, Duke Nukem Forever came out with a beta build, which some people have recompiled into an unofficial build. And so we actually can play kind of the original version of Duke Nukem Forever.
I remember when that came out, I did play a little bit of that just because I was like, I remember being so amped when that trailer came out. Like, I want to play that. That looked like fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, with this Half-Life 3, well, it's not been confirmed that it's Half-Life 3, to be fair. But it has been confirmed that Valve is working on something that is not the Deadlock, which was previously something. Okay, there was a previous rumor that Valve was working on something that ended up being Deadlock, which is a 6v6 team versus team type of game. That's been confirmed. It's called Deadlock. This is something different. This is something that slipped up where an actor posted on a website that they were working on an unnamed a project codenamed Project White Sands for Valve. So he's a voice actor.
Yes.
And
so they listed Project White Sands, and then they listed Valve as the publisher.
Yes.
Here's the important things that you need to know about that. Valve is obviously Valve.
Mm-hmm.
White Sands is the location of
a desert
Black Mesa.
Nevada. Yeah.
It's the city that Black Mesa is in Nevada, in canon.
So that's the connection. That could be the connection. There is actually another connection. Because there's some people that also speculate that this could be Half-Life Alyx 2.
Yeah.
Right? It could be that. Because Valve never goes to 3.
Yeah.
Right? So we got Half-Life Alyx. It just came out. Big success. Half-Life Alyx 2. But one of the other YouTubers that I follow, a guy by the name of Tyler McVicker, he does a lot of digging into releases and updates that Valve puts out. He does a lot of data mining through these releases. Yeah. And through that, he's looked at a lot of the files that came out with like the betas for Deadlock and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's seen a lot of stuff that would not point to a new VR game, but would point to a single player game with a protagonist that's wearing an HEV suit. Which points to Half-Life 3.
Which points to Half-Life 3.
Which points to more for Half-Life 3 than it does to
because Alyx never got an HEV suit.
She never got an HEV suit.
Yeah.
Not that they couldn't write that in there. It's still a possibility. I'm not discounting that. But it seems more likely that it would be a Half-Life 3 thing.
Yeah. So this was all leaked from a voice actor, and let me go to the original source article according to Notebook Check, who originally discovered this. A Reddit user originally discovered this. Notebook Check reported on it. That a voice actor has listed on their resume Project White Sands video game as a voice actor. Publisher to be determined, but source studio Valve. And this is someone who's done, actor to be determined, voice to be determined, publisher Valve. This is someone who has done a lot of different games, including for Starfield. They've done for EA. They've done for Yellowbird Productions. Here's the really fun part. Are you ready for this? So they left a link for voice actor's profile. If you click it,
gone. It's gone. They stripped it. It's gone.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Which tells me there's also a smoking gun here.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely some secrecy going behind it.
Yeah.
If it was Alyx 2, I don't think they would go to these lengths to try to cover that up.
I don't think so either.
If it was Half-Life 3.
So not only has there been a voice actor that's been identified that is an unidentified voice in an upcoming Valve project called Project White Sands, which is the location of Black Mesa Research Facility in Nevada, in canon, in-game for the Half-Life franchise. And that page is no longer available because of a takedown notice. There's also been uploads of a similar project name, which points to a single-player protagonist game with an HEV suit present in the game, implying that Black Mesa is a factor in the game.
In this thing, yeah.
Right. That is officially uploaded to Valve and Steam by people who do this kind of watching.
Yeah.
We might be looking at some early builds hitting beta or alpha sources for validation testing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I this is the most promising thing that I've seen in a long, long time, that Half-Life 3 actually exists.
It's happening.
Within our lifetime. Yay!
Right.
Yes. I mean, we are quickly approaching with Gabe Newell. Him and George R.R. Martin are quickly approaching the same level of anticipation for when they're going to put out their next.
Who can write number 3 first?
Who can do it next? Who's going to do their next installment?
Right.
They both have big beards and they both sit around and talk.
Yep.
They're like
a chant for cigars and whiskey.
Yes. I wish I could be those people someday. That would be great.
That's ultimately who we all aspire to.
I would love to be those people. Just to grow beards, sit around, drink whiskey, and then just troll people for the next installment of my whatever IP that I've created. That was so great.
Axivec version 3. You know, that reminds me of a story way back in the day. Let me reminisce for a while.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
There's got to be a fat guy with beards with no sequel club out there. Gabe Newell and George R.R. Martin are definitely in that club.
And John Grisham.
Is John Grisham still alive? I don't even know.
I believe he is.
I think he's dead.
Is he?
No. No, not John Grisham.
No.
I was thinking
he's 70 or 69.
He's around. I wasn't thinking John Grisham. I was thinking of Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy's dead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Clancy died.
But yeah, John Grisham writes a lot of one-offs.
So he does. Yeah, he does.
You said Fat Man with no sequels, and I went, John Grisham. Like, let's write a courtroom thriller that ends on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do my next project now.
Yeah, Orson Welles died too. He sold no wine before its time. That's what it was. Okay, man. This 13%'s hitting me hard, man. I can't.
Novella says Steve wants to turn into old Rasputin.
Hey, he was a hard motherfucker to kill.
That's right. So yeah, we might be witnessing the early files, the early impetus with voice recordings done.
Yes.
Like, and if you're getting to the point of recording
like voice
lines,
recording, yes. That means you're getting close.
You're entering late development stages.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You finalized a script.
Yeah, because everything to that point is a developer on a headset microphone going, and then I said this.
Yeah. I know.
We need to get to the core. It's going to explode.
Yeah.
And there's an epic cutscene right here. There's an explosion in the background. The character's going to turn around. Okay, next scene.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously not going to be Gordon Freeman because Gordon Freeman doesn't speak. He's the silent. He's always going to be the silent protagonist.
That's right.
But yeah, everybody else.
The strong, silent crowbar wielding type.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a crowbar, you don't need to speak.
Speak softly and carry a steel stick.
That's right.
We might actually get a Half-Life 3.
We might. Within our lifetime. It's going to be great.
Look, with the exception of whatever that god-awful card game was.
Oh, yeah. Well,
has Valve ever put out something bad?
Ricochet.
You know, I'd cleansed my mind of that. I'm going to need another 5 years of therapy now. Thank you.
I think Ricochet, to be fair, I think it was just like an in-house project that people kind of put out there as a lark, and then it kind of became a meme.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a serious release, to be honest. But I don't know. I don't know the whole story behind it. It would be a good research to figure out what Ricochet actually was.
Yeah, see, and I've got fairly like mid standards for games. Like I enjoyed the hell out of Brink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for Ricochet to be on my list is pretty telling. But yeah, that's all we got. Half-Life 3. Maybe?
Yeah. Maybe. It's the most definitive bit of evidence that we have that it's actually in development, that it's actually coming.
The fact that not only do we have files, the fact that we have a voice actor, and that they've both leaked within the last week gives me a lot of promise. Gives me a lot of something to look forward to. Because we've seen things before. We've never seen anything as concrete as either of these, and they both dropped on the same week. That's what gives me hope.
Yes, absolutely.
And has Valve ever put out anything? Shut up about Ricochet. Has Valve ever put out anything other than a crappy card game that has been bad? And the answer to that is pretty much no.
No, pretty much everything has been solid.
Yeah, Half-Life Alyx was a masterclass.
Yeah.
In VR.
And what you can do with VR, yeah.
Right. And, you know, Half-Life as a series has always pushed the bounds of what is possible with PC gaming, of where gaming should go. I mean, the original Half-Life was so good because they figured out, hey, what if the NPCs look at you when they're talking?
Yeah.
Like, they figured out that inherent, like, and started to bridge that uncanny valley gap.
Which is why we haven't seen any mention of 3, because it's getting harder and harder to top what they're doing.
It really is.
The expectations are going to be so astronomically high that it's going to almost be impossible for, at least I can't imagine if it does meet my expectations, it will blow my mind.
Valve's role in history, and I think we'll end with this. Valve's role in the history of gaming is setting the bar for the next 10 years.
Yes.
This right here is what a game should look like.
Yeah.
If you fail to meet this mark, then you're aiming at the wrong place. And again, that's kind of a broad measure because they were speaking specifically of first-person tactical shooters.
Yes,
and you know, but when it came to the interaction, the storytelling, the NPC, you know, character dialogue, the thematics, the scenery, the interaction with the environment, the physics. They nailed it every single time. And that development didn't end with Half-Life. It went into Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. It went into Left 4 Dead 2. It went into Portal. It went into so many different things. They have gone and said, here's an aspect of gaming that we think everyone is failing at. We're going to go ahead and set the benchmark for this particular style of game. And we're going to dare the competition to match it.
Yeah.
And eventually the competition does. We get games like Mirror's Edge. We get games...
We get all kinds of good stuff that's out there. That's why I think 3 is taking so long, because it's very hard to hit that.
Right. And I think that's why we got Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
Because Half-Life Alyx
is VR. It went VR, and that was a whole new area.
Here's what a VR game should be. Here's where the benchmark should be at for a first-person strategic shooter.
But for this leak, all the signs point to it's not a VR game.
Right.
This is a single player game. So we'll have to see what happens. All right.
And with that,
yes.
Can you fill me in on how your 13.5% IPA was?
Still have a little bit left. It's great. I feel great. I don't know what I'm going to feel like tomorrow morning. I'm feeling pretty good right now, though. But I do have to go pee. This is hitting me. This is hitting the bladder harder than I thought.
This is just really fantastic coffee.
Oh, that's good.
Like really, really fantastic coffee. I'm not a coffee snob, but I've also developed a method of brewing my own coffee. I do a lot of cold brewing. I do a lot of French press.
I do
those
like
are my
French
two
press.
methods.
French press is my favorite.
French press is fantastic if I want it quick. Cold brew.
Cold brew, you gotta do it overnight. Yeah,
is the best if I do it overnight.
It's great for the summertime.
Exactly,
because you want
Summertime, I'm cold brew. Wintertime, I'm French press.
French press.
And then sometimes French press in the summer if I'm awake at like 4 a.m. and I have 3 kids and 2 puppies, so I'm often awake at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But this is just a damn good coffee. Like that's what the.
It's a good thing you can't get more of those because then you'll be drinking beer in the morning.
I really would. Good God, this is a good coffee. Like I wish my coffee that I spend a long time cold brewing tasted like this is so good. Damn you, Canada. I want to invade you just for this beer.
Oh, there you go. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, some people saying Brett and the party over at 45 Drives knows how to party. Yes, they do. In fact, I talked to Brett this last week. I had a voice call with him about some aspects of the trip and some things that we're talking about behind the scenes, and that's gonna be really fun. I can't wait to tell you because I can't tell you yet. Like I'm going to 45 Drives, but I can't tell you yet. Yeah. He goes, "What was one of your favorite aspects of the trip last year?" And I said, honestly, getting together with a group of creators, of like-minded creators who want the best for the home lab and small medium business community, and not being involved in a larger event where it's a product launch or something like that, or a trade show where we're all pulling 1,000 different directions in the week.
Yeah.
We're literally there for a singular purpose, and so we can talk about the singular purpose for 2 hours in the day, and then we could sit down to dinner and talk about whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, also the food in Sydney, Nova Scotia is off the freaking chart. And I want some goddamn Thai bites.
Yeah, we talked about the Thai bites last time you came back. How we need to bring them over here.
Yes. For those who don't know what Thai bites are, basically it's like a breaded chicken. Like imagine like the best Chinese breaded deep fried chicken that you've had, and pull all aspects of whatever sauces that you've had out of your mind. Like it's not General Tso, it's not sweet and sour, it's not anything like that, but like that good genuine like breaded chicken from a Chinese restaurant, and then you coat it in this like Thai chili sauce, like a sweet and sour chili sauce. But then you place the whole thing on a bed of dried ramen. And so you get that savory sauce, the wonderfully breaded chicken, the super moist white chicken, and then like this
noodly crunch.
Wonderful noodly crunch all in one bite. Oh, it's so freaking good. If I were to open a restaurant, and I've talked about like potentially opening a restaurant or a tap house or something in the future, we're going to serve Thai bites, because holy crap. They're amazing. I can't wait to have Thai bites again. The really funny thing about Sydney, Nova Scotia is every single solitary eatery establishment has their own version of Thai bites. That was the one thing that blew my mind. Like you go there and they've got like, we've got an Indian restaurant, we've got a Chinese restaurant, we've got an American restaurant, we've got a pizza place, we've got a Thai restaurant, we've got an Indian restaurant, we've got this, we've got that. Regardless of their affiliation, every single one served Thai bites. Yeah, everyone had their own slight variant of Thai bites.
Yeah, everybody here in the US has wings at their bar, right? Everybody's got wings. Everybody's got hot wings.
Right.
Everyone's got Thai bites.
Everyone's got Thai bites.
Yeah.
We went to an Indian restaurant and they went, "Do you want Thai bites for an appetizer?" And I went,
"Yes."
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was Friday, the Friday that we were there. Wendell and I were like the odd two out that didn't have lunch plans. So we're like, want to go to an Indian restaurant? So I went and had Indian food with Wendell, and it was amazing.
And Thai bites.
And we had Thai bites, and it was great. So yeah, no, I told Brett, like, getting together with like-minded creators and having Thai bites around the same table. That was the best part of the trip. Vinny says, go down to Corvallis. HK Market served Korean fried chicken the same way.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Corvallis is a bit of a drive, but it's not too far.
It's a little closer to me.
It's, a little closer.
A little closer. It's still like 40, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
It's like an hour from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that close. Question of the hour. Does Tim Hortons have Thai bites? Tim Hortons did not have Thai bites.
They would not.
I went to numerous Tim Hortons when I was there. I had a lot of Timmy Ho's when I was there. There was a Timmy Ho's 3 blocks walk from a hotel. What was really cool is our hotel was overlooking a bay in which cruise ships depart. Mm-hmm. And so every morning there was a new cruise ship in port, and we could see them roll in and we could see them roll out every night. And that was really cool to watch. We were also in a port that was overlooking the world's largest violin.
Okay. That's big.
Last year I didn't really produce a full in-depth video of my trip. This year I'm going to.
Okay.
This year I want to do like a travel blog kind of thing.
Cool.
Because it's interesting. It's a little bit different culture. It's a little bit different experience, and they got some good beer there. And so I kind of want to take everyone on a journey. Like let's make it a beer vlog around the travel of my trip to Canada.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I posted a beer vlog too. John and I have done a couple of beer vlogs, but they're very early in the channel. I think this might have to be a new beer vlog.
A resurgence, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's enough yapping. Both of us have to pee like racehorses.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Anyway, this has been episode 346 on Talking Heads. Thank you all so much for watching, and you can catch us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news, or on Spotify for the audio replay. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit up craftcomputing.store for all of our official merch: pint glasses, coasters, whiskey stones, whiskey glasses, bottle openers, including in case of DNS or various other designs. We've got a whole bunch on there. They are all fantastic and all made and designed right here in-house by me. If you order something, I literally grab the product, put it on my laser cutter, I do it, and then I put it in a box. Everything is lovingly made by me.
That's right.
Thank you all so much for watching. And as always,